Wedding season is almost here, and custom engraved wine glasses are always a hot seller.
We're gonna give you our top 10 tips for the perfect wine glass right now. What is up? Welcome back. Do you like to do it, build it, or make it?
So do we.
And we have new videos each week. We got an order for 36 wine glasses for a wedding.
And these are the ones we'll be doing, and they have a pink coating on them. So we had to do a little extra testing.
And that was a perfect opportunity to share with you the top 10 tips that we have for getting the perfect engraving on a wine glass. Tip number 1, use a rotary tool. Since it is a cylindrical item, you're gonna wanna use a rotary tool so that you get a nice, consistent engraving across your entire design.
As the glass tapers, if it doesn't rotate, then you will get a different focal height as it moves across the curvature of the glass.
Tip number 2, clean your glasses. Nobody likes a dirty glass, and your laser doesn't either. Use an alcohol wipe, some alcohol, or even something like Dawn that will cut through the greasy fingerprints.
We found during our testing that our glass had some fingerprints on it, and when we applied the coating, it did not have an even coating across. You could see it was level, it was thicker in some places, which impacted the engraved settings.
And actually, it would separate around the fingerprint.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You could see it. Tip number 3, apply a temporary coating to the glass surface. Now, your laser is not gonna focus on the clear surface of the glass, so you're gonna need to apply something to the surface that the laser can heat up, that will get hot enough that will create microfractures in the surface of the glass,
making it look frosted. Now, we've tried several different coatings, and all of these will work. So you can use any of these. We're just gonna tell you the one that seemed to work best for us and why. So this is
we did try the chalk spray.
Black chalk spray paint.
It worked okay. It went on fine. It engraved fine. It just wasn't the best. Then we had white tempera paint. White tempera paint actually worked really well. It was like a runner-up.
Yes, it was definitely a runner-up. And then, of course, this is 2 different versions of black tempera paint. Now, this one we got at Michael's, and it was twice the price of what we found at Walmart. So if you're looking for tempera paint, just go to Walmart and get it. These little pouches come, this was 8 ounces, this was 3 ounces, but 3 of these was cheaper than 1 of these. And we found this one just worked the best.
It worked better. It coated a little bit better. This one would flake off. This one coated nice and even, and it even accepted a second coat.
And this is Krylon's Shortcuts metallic paint. So this is a little guy, and this is a great spray paint. It does keep a solid surface. It goes on nice and smooth, and when you clean it off, it actually kind of gives a little shimmer. Yes, in the etched engraving. So we really, really liked this one. The problem with this is if you're only doing a few, we highly recommend this version. But we're doing 36, and the cleanup time of this one was a lot longer. It took a lot more scrubbing.
Well, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze on this one. It looked nice, but it didn't look that much nicer than the black tempera paint.
So our recommendation is this Walmart black tempera paint.
And the cleanup on this stuff was a breeze. You literally just ran it underneath the sink with the spray nozzle.
And it washed right away.
Tip number 4. Getting an even coat on the glass surface is nearly impossible. Once it's very clean and has no grease or grime on it, then trying to get a nice even coat is very hard. If you use a paintbrush, it will leave streaks. If you use a foam brush, it will leave streaks. So what happens there is you'll get uneven engraving spots in your design.
Because the paint is thicker in some places and thinner, or just missing if you're using a paintbrush, it will just be missing in some places.
Missing or very thin. You'll get a thin engrave at a thin paint spot. So what we found works best is that we cut the tempera paint by 3 to 1 with water. So it's 3 parts water to 1 part paint. We put it in a little pump bottle, and it sprays out fine. It works great.
You want to give it, what, maybe 10 inches or something? You want enough distance so that it's spraying evenly.
You're starting to get that mist.
Yes.
Now, this is great, again, if I'm doing, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6. But since I'm doing 36, I went ahead and picked up a $15 little pressure sprayer from Harbor Freight. And this works great also.
It did a great job with misting. And
great
we could
job
do a
with
bunch of
misting.
them at one time.
And as long as I get the right consistency of my paint, it'll go on pretty thick too. I didn't have to thin it out too much. Tip number 5, use the chuck on your rotary tool. We found that using the rollers, laying the glass on the rollers, even with the little support in the back, the glass had a tendency to wobble or actually like roll. It would do the wobble and roll. And we weren't getting an even engrave across the surface of the glass.
So we found that using the chuck will allow us to hold the wine stem like this. And now you're getting a nice, tight, level surface and consistent every time. It's not going to move as it rotates.
It's not gonna wobble and walk.
If you're using a stemless wine glass, this will work as well. What you'll do is just put these little rollers inside of the wine glass. There's
You can actually just flip these little tongs.
well, there's different feet. So they have stepper feet. So
there you go.
And you'll put these on, and basically these will hold your wine glass from the inside. And again, it's gonna hold it nice and steady, and it's pretty easy to switch out. I know people are like, oh, I need to create a jig, but really I loosen it, I take especially with the stemmed ones, I take it out, I put it in, I tighten it back up and move on.
It's so
really
easy with the stems.
It's really pretty quick.
Tip number 6, you need an accurate measurement of the circumference of your wine glass.
Now, if you can't remember which is the diameter and which is the circumference, the great thing about Xtool's Creative Space, it actually is a little diagram so you know which is which. And the best way to do that measuring is with a soft tape measure. These metal ones aren't gonna work so well to do the circumference. But if you can't find yours, like I couldn't find mine during the testing, Garrett's genius was, here, just use this, right exactly where I wanna be engraving. I measured the circumference of the wine glass, and then knew exactly what it was and put it up against a tape measure, and I knew it was 11 inches. And I was like, wow, that's so smart.
So much easier.
Sometimes-
Hillbilly genius.
Yes.
Tip number 7, run a material test pattern. Not all glass is created equal, not all temporary coatings are created equal, and not all lasers are created equal. So to get your perfect setting for engraving, it's best to just run a test pattern.
So we did a bunch of these because we did one for every single surface coating that we used. So the white tempera paint, the black tempera paint, which is this, the chalk paint, the metallic spray.
Also tested both on the clear and the pink, and they reacted differently on the pink glass than they did with the clear glass.
This one, yeah. There was a spot that really,
it
well,
actually just shattered it, cracked it. It's
when I
gone.
cleaned it, I broke it, really broke it.
So this is our material test. This is our material test card right here.
All right, Garrett.
Kim picked it up, tried to look at it, and it fell apart. Tip number 8, add 10% width to circular logos or designs.
If your logo is a circle and you're engraving it on a curved surface like this, as you look at the image, it's going to give an optical illusion after it engraves as being an oval. So you're going to want to add 10%, and it's going to look funny on the screen before you engrave it, but the illusion will be a perfect circle once it engraves.
You know, it's like those mirrors at the circus.
Yeah, those fun house mirrors.
Those fun house mirrors. The curvature of the glass kind of gives you that long, skinny look.
And that's what happens when you engrave just a perfect circle on a tapered glass.
Tip number 9, make sure your laser engraved surface is level. We talk about consistent burn throughout your design. Making sure you have the consistent focal height throughout your design while it's turning is crucial.
So not only left to right, but also top to bottom. You can see that we've put the level here, and where we'll be engraving is actually level. And that's because Garrett has mounted the rotary tool to a little jig that he created. This is the RA2 Pro rotary tool, and Xtool now has an accessory that will allow you to tilt the chuck mechanism here so that you can get a level engraving. But because we don't have that yet, Garrett was able to mount this, and now we have a level surface area.
Well, this jig is serving 2 purposes. It butts right up against the side of the laser so that the glass will be in the same spot every time, and it levels it up a little bit.
So all I have to do is loosen it, put the new glass in, tighten it.
Double tap on start. Tap, tap. Tip number 10, avoid bidirectional engraving when engraving on glass.
Now, this is an optional tip. You don't have to do it that way, and it will take a little bit longer if you engrave in one direction only, but it does give a little bit nicer look. It leaves cleaner lines because it's just going in one direction. Otherwise, it's engraving in both directions and the lines get a little squiggly.
Get a little overlap.
Yeah, and they're just a little bit uneven. So if you have that extra time, maybe you're not doing 36 glasses, and you want a nice, perfect engraving, we recommend turning off bidirectional engraving.
Those were our top 10 tips for engraving the perfect wine glass. What is your tip? Do you have a tip that we haven't mentioned today? Leave it in a comment down below.
I'd also love to hear from you. What is your top selling wedding gift item? If you're engraving or cutting, what's your top selling gift? Share it with others down below so they can start marketing this season coming up in just a few months.
Well, I am about out of time. I have 36 wine glasses to go engrave, but a big thanks to all of our patrons. We love you guys. That is the best way to support this channel. There's a great community over there, and when you sign up for the Made It or Master It tier, you get access to like 380 files just right off the bat. And we will see you on Test Cut Tuesday. And don't forget about Studio Sessions Sunday. With optical illusions.